Hey everyone, it's Peter with the Garden Family. It's May 6th and I wanted to take the time to show you where we are with the garden. We had an early start this year, so I'll show you how the tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants are doing. And then the cool weather plants have been in the ground for about a month or so. We'll get an update on that, and then we'll talk about some of the projects we have coming up. So come on in. All right, so I guess we'll start with the peppers first. These were just planted a little less than a week ago. Started from seed on early March, I think March 2nd. And a few varieties were growing. I'll put all the varieties down in the description of the video so you can follow along with those. But these are looking really good. Let's pop over here and just take a look at some of the growth that we have. Not sure if you can see there, we already have some peppers. This is a Carmen sweet pepper. It's more of a elongate pepper shape, but has the taste of a sweet bell pepper. New for us here, we have these Shishito peppers. These are Mellow Star Shishitos from Johnny's Seeds. Just pretty loaded with fruit and flowers. And then of course, we always grow Poblano peppers, and two real types. This is what's called a Massivo hybrid, but it's really a Poblano type pepper. And then just the classic Poblanos as well. We're doing 5 eggplants. Each one is a different variety. We've got Orient Express, Thanos, Black Beauty, White Knight, which is a white eggplant. Haven't tried that one before. And then we said we wouldn't grow it again, but I just wanted to compare it with the other ones. Turkish Delight is the last one. New for us this year, we have Tomatillos. We wanted to do a green salsa. They are all for the same variety. It's Pancho by Johnny's Seeds. And with Tomatillos, you need at least 2. They don't have to be different varieties, but you need at least 2 plants. Because they won't self-pollinate unlike tomatoes. So these 4 plants should do a great job, and you can see they're already pretty big. If we look over here at this one, really pretty flowers that they have, but we already have flowering, and so we might be seeing some little tomatillos soon. And we're back at the tomato tower. This is the same spot we planted our tomatoes last year. Worked out pretty well. It's a 4-foot by 12-foot bed, and I have 12 tomatoes in the bed, which is pretty tight spacing, but they are all going to be trained to single stems up these 8-foot stakes. And I create this structure here just to make sure if we get any wind or anything, we won't all fall over. I'm not going to go over every single variety, but all 12 are different tomatoes. They're all indeterminate tomatoes, and I'll put in the description down below, I'll put all of the different varieties we're growing. They do include our 2 favorite from last year, Mr. Stripey and Black Krim, but a lot of other tomatoes as well. More tomatoes here. These are all our determinate tomatoes. If you guys remember last year, we did our determinate tomatoes in the straw bales, and they worked great. In fact, we've actually cut down the total number of tomato plants we're going to grow from 46 to 32, just based on our assessment of how many paste tomatoes we need for the year. So they're all determinate, so bush type paste tomatoes. And I actually set it up this year where we're growing 4 different varieties. There's going to be 8 plants of each variety for a total of 32 plants, and then we're going to compare the yields of all of those and see which kind we like the best. And we'll report back on that in a future video. All right, we're in our asparagus patch now, and we have been finding a few little asparagus beetles. Actually relatively easy to get off of here. I'm gonna get one right here and see if I can show you guys. They do that classic beetle move where they fall, so if you put a hand underneath them, that's often a good way to do it. So that is what they look like. And they do come with a little bit of variety of colors, and we've been kind of picking these off and just killing them by hand. He looks kind of cute. I feel bad, but sorry, buddy. I got one more over here I'm gonna get. And actually I see an egg here too. So let me show you what that looks like. So I'm not sure how well that's gonna pick up in the video, but those 3 little black dots on the asparagus flower there, those are their eggs. And they create a little larva that then eat the fronds, and then the beetles overwinter in the asparagus patch. So we're trying to reduce the number that we have just by hand picking them off. This is the 2nd year of our asparagus, which is a perennial. We decided not to harvest it this year, but we will be harvesting next year. All right, in our lettuce bed, last year we did one whole bed of the same type of lettuce. We decided we're just gonna succession plant the lettuce this year. And really the goal is to try to have lettuce all summer, even though it's so hot. Basically, I'm gonna be keeping this shade cloth on top the whole summer, and we will see how that goes. It would be really nice if that was the case, because normally we really only get lettuce kind of May, first week of June, before it just gets too hot. So hopefully with the shade cloth, we'll be able to do that. Other things we have in this bed, we've got some pak choi, some Swiss chard. This arugula is just about done. It's starting to bolt here. And then tot soy as well. So for our regular potatoes, I'm doing an experiment with this one, and we will follow up with a video with the results, but I already have a guess of how things are going. Basically on this side, I dug and added a couple wheelbarrows full of compost. And then over on this side, I just put the same amount of compost over the top of the soil. We have relatively clay soil, but so far the dug potatoes, unfortunately, I was really hoping the no dig would do better because it's so much less work, are doing a lot better. Now I know a lot of people say a no dig bed just gets better and better with time, and so if this works well, we may just continue to do this every year and see how that goes. But so far, digging and then adding the compost seems to have done better for our potatoes. And my latest project was just right behind me. Yesterday, I created the 3 of these towers. These are 8-foot cages made from cattle panels. And I have 3 different kinds of cherry tomato in them. So I have Sun Gold, Super Sweet 100, and Green Bee. So a yellow, a red, and a green cherry tomato. And I am going to allow them to basically just take over these areas. Anyone that's grown cherry tomatoes knows they do tend to get pretty big. So I wanted them in their own separate areas. You can see some planting beds between those, and I just direct seeded a whole bunch of zinnias there. So I'm really hoping this looks beautiful, and hopefully you guys can check back midsummer and see what it looks like then. So down this way we have all of our berries. So actually right over here, that is a tart cherry tree. There's another one just behind it. And then down this way, these are all of our raspberries. They were started last year. So we do have new fruit growth that'll be ready this midsummer on the floricanes. And then these are everbearing or fall-bearing raspberries. So we'll also get another set on the primal canes in the fall. I do plan on making a video talking about pruning raspberries that I'll have up probably within the next couple weeks, because it's confusing, but it really shouldn't be. Over this way, we've got our 6 blueberry plants. I picked these varieties because they come into ripeness at different intervals. So they're starting with the earliest and then all the way to the latest variety there to extend the harvest as much as possible. And then over here in 2 more 24-foot by 4-foot raised beds, we have all of our strawberries. These were planted from bare roots this spring. They all look really good, but this year we're really focusing more on growth. And just like the blueberries, I picked early, mid, and later. They're all June bearing type strawberries, but these are a little earlier, mid, and then later in the season. Let's head over and look at the garlic and onions. We can look at the onions first. So pretty packed onion bed, whole bed, 12 by 4 feet. A variety of onions. We've got a row of white, a row of purple, and then the majority is a yellow storage onion. We planted them a little bit closer together. They're about 4-inch spacing within a row and about 6-inch spacing between rows. And this sounds strange, but part of the reason was last year we had wider spacing and we got these really, really big onions. And it was a little difficult to cook with them because it's just not, normally when you say one onion, it's sort of a medium-sized onion. So we'll see if we got the spacing right this year. You'll be able to see our onion harvest as we get towards later in the summer. But we're hopeful to get more, but more kind of medium-sized onions than less really big onions. Let's check out the garlic right behind me. All right, over here in the garlic bed, we planted these in the fall, which is typical for what we do here in Ohio. And we have 2 different types of hardneck garlic, which is more suited for our environment. I did have just some extra space, and so I planted a few softneck garlics as well. And you can see this is the hardneck garlic here, just as big, nice stalks. And then this right here is the softneck garlic, a lot smaller. So I expect smaller cloves and everything on the softneck. It just not being quite as well suited for our climate. But I just had the extra space, so I just went to the grocery store and bought some organic softneck garlic and planted that. So far it survived, so we'll see how it does. All right, we're gonna look at the brassicas, but just really quick, you can see all of this extra stuff I have here. Because of cabbage worms, I keep a netting on the brassicas at all times. Really early season, it's a frost cloth, but right now it's netting. And then you can kind of see the dark underneath. This is a shade cloth. Basically, anytime it's over 80 degrees, I have the shade cloth on them as well because they prefer cooler temperatures. So as far as what we're growing, right over here, it's a mixed bed. And we've got Kohlrabi, and this is the first time we've done a purple variety. So those look pretty nice. And then towards me, we have our beets. And interesting thing about beets, most people say don't plant a root vegetable as a transplant, direct seed them. Beets are an exception to that. They are a root vegetable, but you can absolutely transplant them. They do well. We do it every year. Let's take a look at the cauliflower. So for cauliflower, this is the bed here. Not sure why I have a stick in there, but cauliflower is actually looking pretty good. It's been in the ground about a month, and what we're looking for is to make sure we still just have vegetative growth, no heads yet. The bigger the plants get before they head, the better head of cauliflower you're gonna get. We're doing 5 different varieties to compare how they're doing. The broccoli, a few of the varieties are doing worse, so let's go look over there at those. So we are doing 6 different types of broccoli. One is actually a purple variety. You can see the purple veining there. I think that's going to be really pretty. And then a few of these varieties are actually already what we call buttoning. So this is a variety called Sun King. And you can see really at only 30 days from transplanting, we should not be seeing them form a head yet. This small of a plant really isn't going to make that big of a head of broccoli. And so this, we're going to have to harvest it at some point, but it's only going to be a small head. The other one that seems to be doing that is Gurney's Blue Ribbon, which here's one right here. It's a little bit tighter of a head, but again, we really shouldn't be forming a broccoli head yet, at least for another couple weeks. And so I don't think that's going to form a very good head either. But that's part of the reason we chose 6 different varieties of broccoli, so we could look at all of them, and in a future video we can compare how those all did. All right, so this is probably the last part we're going to talk about. This is sort of a low area of the garden, and so underneath me I just recently moved about 20 yards of wood chips and old logs here for a huge hugelkultur bed. I'm not going to plant anything in it, but it's a great way for any of the fertilizer and things like that to come into this carbon-rich area and sequester all that nitrogen. In a few years, I think it's going to make some great soil down here. The other thing that you're going to see in this area is I have these straw bales, and this being an area where we're not planting very much, straw bales are a great place to let some of the crops that are just going to sprawl out and vine take over. So one of those things I'm going to be doing is my sweet potatoes in straw bales. You may have seen the video of our harvest last year. Oh my gosh, mother load, look at that. Wow. If you didn't, it was a pretty great harvest. I'll put a link so you can check it out. So sweet potatoes will be sprawling through here. We're going to have some pumpkins as well as watermelon and our other melons, just kind of letting them take over this space. And the bigger the vines, the better the yield's going to be with those type of crops. Last little bit of the garden, we've got our cattle panels. This is where we're going to have our butternut squash as well as our cucumbers. Over here on your right, I have celery and celeriac as well as this bulb fennel. That's something that's new for us this year. So I know it doesn't look like a whole lot at this point, but you can see just how much work we put into it to get to here. And I know that in the next few months, this is just gonna explode with growth. I'll try to give you guys an update about monthly through the growing season. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Happy gardening, everyone.